I think in keeping with his, with his interest in innovation, this is something different that we're going to do. So he's not going to just address the audience. We are going to have a chat, and that's how he's going to be interacting with you all. So welcome, Minister Bain. May I please invite you to the house.
Welcome, Minister Bains. It is an absolute privilege to have you here with us. I have met Minister Bains a couple of times earlier, and what strikes me every time is your positive energy, your dynamism, and your absolute humility. And that spoke volumes when you came in and you sat waiting for the panel to finish. I think that speaks volumes for you. Thank you for being with us. Minister Bains has been in the forefront of fostering innovation and skills in Canada, and thereby been instrumental in bringing a huge fillip to the economy of Canada. And if I have to briefly summarize your achievements, which is a very difficult task, I must say, but I would say the three main pillars where you have been making a mark, and what we've been hearing right away here have been innovations which has been creating a lot of job opportunities in Canada. Then again, you've led the talks and laid the foundation for the free trade agreement between the provinces of Canada, which is again a huge task, and it has made for a lot of easy movement between the provinces and a lot of trade. Also supporting entrepreneurship, and amongst them I think a special focus on cultural minorities and women. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for that. So let me say first of all a very warm welcome to you. And I would, what would you think? What remarks would you like to give? Some opening remarks, after which I could probably then.
No, thank you very, very much. It really is a privilege and honor to be here as part of Team Canada. We have an amazing delegation, and I want to thank ICBC for hosting myself and many of the delegates that came from Canada. It's an exciting time between the Canada-India relationship. We've had over 8 ministers from Canada visit India in the past 12 months. That's almost close to a third of our cabinet that's been here. So that demonstrates how important this relationship is. This is my second official visit in my capacity as Minister responsible for innovation, science, and economic development. And so we're building momentum up for the Prime Minister's visit in the near future as well. And we're really excited about not only us visiting at a government-to-government level, but it's great to see that there was a delegation that came with High Commissioner Mr. Patel to Canada, 150 businesses from India looking at opportunities in Canada. And here today, as part of our delegation, we have over 100 Canadian businesses. So it's a really exciting time at a government-to-government level, at a business-to-business level. And I just wanted to say thank you again for facilitating these opportunities. And it's really exciting about where we're headed together as countries, because this relationship really does matter. It's important on so many levels. I mean, I have a personal connection. My father was born in Rajasthan, in a small village in Chakbara, PS. My mother was born in Punjab, near Jalandhar. And so they talk very fondly of their childhood. They talk very fondly. As my dad would say, he still has Punjabi tissues. So he still dreams of Punjab. So, there's that personal relationship that 1.4 million Canadians share. And that puts us in a unique position as well. We have a very vibrant and dynamic diaspora in Canada. And I think that also is really important, because it's not about the trade, the $8 billion of trade, or the 30% growth in trade, but it's really about that people-to-people relationship that's going to really help us going forward. And I look forward to speaking to that at the moment.
So, as you said, yes, it is, because Canada, I think now the new flavor is saying that it's a salad, because it brings together all the different flavors and ingredients, and everyone retains the flavor, and yet it's a fabulous mix. So, coming back to the fact that this is a very exciting juncture in the India-Canada relationship, and the fact that so many ministers have come. You yourself, I think maybe last year at this time in November, you were here when you made your first visit to India as a Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. What do you think has been happening in Canada since that time to now?
So as you know, I'm the minister responsible for really putting forward our microeconomic policy. The Minister of Finance really sets the framework, it sets the budget, but ultimately, putting forward that industrial policy, that innovation skills policy is my primary responsibility. And I recall being here a year ago. It was very interesting. We were talking about air quality at that time. This happened to be, I was here in November as well, early November. And again, very interesting conversation with monetization. And I mentioned to the delegation this morning as well. I was with the Finance Minister JP at that time. And that same evening, Prime Minister Modi announced the monetization policy. So it's great to be back a year later to see how that policy's come forward and how some of the challenges around air quality still exist in the discussions in the media as well. But from a Canadian point of view, and from my own personal point of view, we've been really focusing on implementing our government's innovation and skills plan. And fundamentally what this is about is saying, look, if we want to grow the economy, if we want to deal with climate change, and we're very committed to that, we made that commitment in Paris at COP21. In Canada, we have a different situation in our demographics. We have now more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 15. So if we want to deal with an aging population, we want to deal with climate change, and we want to be a leader in that, if we want to grow the economy, create jobs, because there's a lot of disruption happening, and I can speak to that momentarily. The key way for us to move forward is through innovation. And it's really creating that culture of innovation, and so that's what I've been focused on. And the primary focus of that has really been about people. Talent and global skills, you heard from the panel before. We are a country that's made it very, very clear. We're a country of 35 million people. And if we are to succeed globally, and if we want to grow and we want to have a good quality of life, we genuinely have to be open to people. We have to be open to trade and investment. And that's really been our vision. And that's been embodied in our innovation skills agenda. So we've been focusing on promoting more lifelong learning, from coding initiatives to more work integrated. But really the key features are global skills strategy. And then with respects to technology, we put a lot of effort and emphasis around artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and digitization. And I think there's a lot of potential there because India, as you know, Digital India is a key initiative by Prime Minister Modi. It's about improving that experience for fellow Indians here and using government as an enabler of that digital platform to provide better customer service, better experiences for the user. And we have similar challenges in Canada. We have an urban-rural aspect. 80% of our population is urbanized, and we still have 20% of our population. So how do we provide high-speed internet access to make sure they can also get good government services, to make sure that our indigenous population has the opportunity to get good education, or with respects to small businesses that want to start up and the importance of e-commerce. So we think that there's a lot of potential there in technology. And lastly, our focus has really been on helping companies scale up. And that's where India comes into play. Because market access is so important for companies to scale. So we're helping companies through financing, through talent, through technology, but really market access is critical. And so I think that's where India presents enormous opportunities. And that's what I'm delighted to be with the delegation. So that's really our innovation and skills plan. It's really focused on 3 key dimensions. One is around talent and skills and people. The second is being a leader on technology adoption, because we can either embrace technology or we can resist it. And I'm of the view, and I'm an optimist, as you mentioned earlier on, that if we embrace technology, it'll create more opportunities and it'll help businesses succeed. And then lastly, how do we help companies scale and grow? How do we take a culture in Canada of a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises, and how can they be successful globally? And I think There's so many opportunities to do that in so many different markets, but India really presents a lot of unique opportunities. And I think that people-to-people relationship will be one of the advantages for our Canadian companies.
So, so that was going to be, in fact, my next question as to, with your vision that you shared with us, and given the similarities that India has with Canada, whether it is the SMEs, the demography, the cultural, what would you see as, the fact that you have done so much of innovation there in Canada, and India has also a lot of startup IT systems. Where do you see a good mix of, a fit in between India and Canada? Where would India come to your plans or your vision?
So I think when we talk about innovation, and when I was articulating it before, obviously it's a key part of our economic agenda, but that economic agenda is very much connected to our environmental agenda. We've said the economy and the environment go hand in hand. And it's also connected to our healthcare agenda. So as a public policy maker, innovation is not only about jobs and growth, but it's about solving problems. It's about improving one's quality of life. It's about having a positive impact on society. It's about doing things better. And I think that's where India and Canada have a unique opportunity. I think this is how we take a relationship to the next level. My colleague Francois Philippe and Mark Arnaud, two of the ministers that I'm here with, so we've got three of us. Just for the record, I'm slightly better looking than the other two. But Francois Philippe is very much focused on, our foreign investment protection agreement, on promoting more free trade and moving those discussions forward, and that's important. But I think, if we want to differentiate the Canada-India relationship versus other countries, there has to be a situation where we create a win-win proposition. And trade does that, globalization does that. But I think innovation really takes it to the next level. And we're talking about, just take the simple example today, when we are watching the news and all the attention on the pollution levels here in New Delhi, for example. There are 19 Canadian companies from the clean tech sector that are part of the delegation. And a few of them approached me that actually have solutions around crops and how we can deal with the crop burning issue and to minimize that impact. I think those are the kind of solutions that really matter. I think that's the vision I have, is that we simply don't want to be friends or partners or allies. We want to be there for each other, to make each other's lives better, to really help address challenges that we're facing. And I think that's where innovation comes into play. So that's my vision when it comes to innovation in the Canada-India relationship. It's helping solve problems. And I think it works both ways. I think India can present a lot of opportunities for us as well to solving problems in Canada that we're facing. I know India, for example, is putting a lot of effort around smart cities, around urbanization. We would love to look at some of those solutions in Canada as well, because we're highly urbanized. And so it's those kinds of initiatives that really matter. And this morning I had a roundtable with women entrepreneurs, and it was incredibly inspiring. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. These women, these young women, first of all, I love to about my daughters. I've got two young girls, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And they just so much passion. And they were talking about what government can do, what industry can do. But all this was possible because of Ryerson University and its partnership with India and the Mumbai Exchange. And so I think those are the kind of partnerships we need to focus on. And it wasn't simply about entrepreneurship, but it was looking at the lens of women entrepreneurs. In an area like in India, only 13% of entrepreneurs are women. And only 2% of the women, of those 13%, actually are able to raise money to grow their business. So that's a problem. And this is where I think Canada can also play a role, because we're also tackling a similar challenge. Right? We can't afford to leave 50% of our population on the sidelines. So these are the kinds of issues we need to tackle when it comes to empowering more women, when it comes to climate change. I think if we start taking our relationship to that level, I'm confident that'll further cement this very important partnership and relationship that we have, and would really be a great model for other countries to emulate.
We look forward to that, Minister. And as you were mentioning, we have Ajay Subramaniam here from Zone Startups, which is the tie-up between Ryerson University and the Bombay Stock
AJ
Exchange.
was there as well, so was Matt, so
yes,
you had the dream team there.
Yeah,
Right.
and just to mention to the people that they have brought with them about 7 to 8 startups. And we also have a couple of others who are set up in a meeting room next, just adjacent to this. please take the time to go meet them, see their products, and see what could be a good partnership. So the idea behind this, as Mr. also said, is not only just to talk about it, but the thing is that we have to act on it. So there are people here, network and make the most of it. And so Minister, as you said that okay, both India and Canada could come out winners in this situation because both have it's the right time, everything is just going the right way. What comes next? What are your priorities now for the future?
So for us, really, as a government, is we're in the implementation phase. So we put forward an innovation and skills plan, and now we're implementing that plan. And to give you an example, one really exciting initiative that we're promoting in Canada is called a supercluster proposal. And this is about bringing industry and academia together with civil society to create, basically a job magnet to help facilitate knowledge transfer from large companies to small companies. And my view is that we need to show more ambition. In Canada, we only have 35 million people. We're very fortunate. We've got a great relationship with the United States, and I know we're going through our discussions with NAFTA. We just have signed a free trade agreement with Europe, and so that's come into place as well. And so we're very fortunate that we have access to these markets as well. But for these superclusters to really grow, they need to show more ambition. In a market of 1.34 billion people like India, it presents a lot of opportunities. And so the plan for us is when we move forward with these domestic policies to improve, our supercluster initiative, I'm encouraging them to find international partners and allies to help them. Because it's about global partnerships, it's about global superclusters, it's about global networks that we want to promote. Because these are global challenges and global solutions we want to promote. So that's the level of ambition I'd like to see. And the other point I wanted to raise was around the point around talent. This is so critical for us. What's Canada's value proposition? Because in India we talk about it's a market access. It's a young population. There's a lot of opportunities. But what would be the incentive for Indian companies to come to Canada, right? And so we have many successful stories here as well. It's really around diversity. And the fact that 1 in 5 Canadians were born outside of Canada, the fact that Toronto, our largest city, where visible minorities are now 51%, so now the minorities are the majority. But it's really the focus around diversity because for innovation to really move forward in a meaningful way, you need to be open to diverse points of views, diverse ideas. And so those ideas can come from anywhere at any time. So we need to have access to global talent. And when I talk to companies here in India, they want to set up shop in Canada, they talk about our immigration policies around the fact, can they actually get access to workers? Can workers from India travel to Canada? Can they get access to other, employees from other countries? And we've actually introduced a program called a Global Skills Strategy. So if you're a company in Canada and you need somebody high in demand with technical skills, you can bring them to Canada in a matter of 2 weeks. The visa processing time is 2 weeks. So just imagine in an era where there's so much disruption, so much change, so much technology, being introduced in the market, and companies need to be nimble and adapt. They can't afford 6 months to a year to process and bring someone over. By then, the ship has sailed, so to speak. So the fact that they can bring somebody in now in a matter of 2 weeks, we think is a game changer. And so to your point, that's what we're focused on. It's the initiative around superclusters, the global skills strategy. The level of ambition for us is beyond Canada, and it's really taking the opportunity to leverage our global networks and to really say, look, we want to be open to global talent because we want to be the jurisdiction where innovation happens, and that can come from anywhere at any time, and we think that's a very strong value proposition for Canada.
Thank you. So as it happened even in the earlier sessions, where Minister Champagne, I quoted where he said that ambition is what we need at the moment and not caution. And again, Mr. Ravish Abhishek, Secretary of the ICBC, he said today we need to be audacious. We need to go out there and do things and not take the same road. So as you said, yes, it is the time that we need to move on to try and take advantage of this tremendous, the deepening of the economic ties between India and Canada. There is so much happening. And again, the startups of both the countries and the funding and the funding organizations that have come up. Today we also have with us Ms. Padmaja Ruparan, who is a founder of the Indian Angel Network. She is here. We have another session now happening on innovations. We have another fund with Sunil Goyal, who is coming with Your Nest funding. So there are a lot of funds that have come up both in India and in Canada.
Weston Clover as well is here as well.
Yes.
And they are also launching a Canadian venture capital company coming here and investing in companies here in India as well.
Yeah. So we have them and we have the various ideas, the startups. The idea is now to get them together and and just begin in full earnest. So with that, sir, should I maybe would there be time for a question or two, you think, from the audience?
Absolutely. So I only take easy questions. If you have a difficult question, my deputy minister is with me, so I will introduce you to the young fellow, and please direct those questions to him. But I would really welcome the opportunity to do my best to answer any questions.
So I think the lady there, please, if you will, yes.
Hi, I am Padmaja.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, and it was good listening to you.
Minister Bains. I just wanted to actually bring up something. I've been to Canada on the invitation of the Government of Canada. We are a large angel investor group, in fact the world's largest, and we have investors from Canada investing with us. We've now set up a fund which is the next phase for young entrepreneurs. We have invested in Canada in very young startups. And to all your credit, your country's credit, we've also made money and brought it out. But having said that, I think the larger issue that I wanted to sort of raise is there is a huge, I completely echo with a lot of things that you mentioned. We have a huge opportunity of actually creating an Indo-Canada startup innovation bridge. And there is market, there is talent at both ends, and we feel that the market access is not only in India, but also the Canadian markets are huge. And second, I think, is the sectoral and niche areas that Canada has developed in clean energy, agriculture, biotech, which are really the need of the day. So my questions, in simple words, would Canada be keen to do something like this, and if so, how do we take it forward?
So absolutely is a short answer. We really believe in fostering that startup ecosystem. It's a critical part of our innovation ecosystem in Canada, and I think India and the partnership opportunities here are enormous. I think from our point of view is you really touch upon a good point. There are so many different facets to this relationship. So you talk about angel investors. That's so critical because often that network is so important for those ideas to go from an idea phase to actual commercialization phase that can have a market potential opportunities. And it's the mentorship too. It's not only the money, but it's the mentorship as well. And the fact that we have such a dynamic diaspora in Canada, and like you said, it's the market access. That's why I mentioned North American Free Trade Agreement that we have and access to the US and Mexican market. That's why I mentioned Europe as well. So Canada is a great destination, not only in terms of doing business within Canada, and by the way, we made that very, very easy as well. We introduced the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, which is again, further harmonized regulations, eliminated any barriers that exist between the provinces and territories. So we think there's enormous opportunities. I think Ryerson, I taught at Ryerson University, so I've got a bit of a bias here. The digital media zone there and the Mumbai Exchange and the work that they're doing to help promote that type of startup culture through their accelerator and incubator program is an example of that kind of partnership. And I think we can and must build on that. And I believe the delegation here really represents those kinds of opportunities. A lot of startup companies here as well. But I must confess, we have to focus on scaling them up as well. So we want to promote startup, but from our government's point of view in Canada, we have a very good startup culture, but how do we continue to create opportunities for those companies to grow and succeed? And I think that's where this global partnership, this Canada-India relationship is a very dynamic relationship as well, because the market access aspect of it is also very important for scaling up companies.
So I think we just take one last question if somebody has something to say. Okay, I think the gentleman there, yes.
Excellency, my name is Deepak Arora. It was lovely hearing you, such an honest response from a minister, which is rare in India. You mentioned very interesting sentence, minority becoming majority. Now, this is creating problem in different parts of the world. You must have heard there was a demonstration in Poland a couple of days back, where 60,000 people gathered together, nationalist movement, where they said we want all white people in this country. It's happening in America, in other countries also. How are you planning to cater to this conflict? You know, because minority becomes majority, someday majority might gang up together. So it would be very interesting to hear your views on this from the world's perspective.
Yeah, no, I'll do my best to because it's such an important subject matter, and it speaks to the core of our government's mandate. When we formed government, it was on a variety of issues. One of them was on tone. We ran a positive campaign, but we also ran a campaign that said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. And we said no matter who you are, where you come from, you should have every opportunity to succeed. And you know, we focus a lot of those efforts around the middle class as well. And so I'll tell you how these two are connected to your question. If you look at globalization and some of the challenges right now with globalization and around trade and the rise of populist politics and right-wing politics and nationalist politics and the promotion of protectionism, it's really rooted in the fact that people in many parts of the world feel like globalization has not benefited them. That it's only helped the wealthiest 1% and the middle class is getting squeezed. So this is a constant political narrative that we hear, and it gives rise to such movements. So we believe now that when it comes to innovation, and part of my conversation earlier today, innovation has to be inclusive. Otherwise, we will face the same social and political consequences around innovation. Imagine the disruption and the challenges around artificial intelligence, or quantum computing, or even as we go forward in digitizing our processes, and the impact it will have on a lot of traditional jobs. If we cannot find a way to make innovation more inclusive, looking at the urban-rural divide, looking at the rich-poor divide, looking at the gender divide, then we're going to have these challenges persist on a going forward basis. So I think from our point of view and the way our government is tackling this issue is we are putting a lot of effort when it comes to our innovation agenda on the middle class and empowering the middle class, but also looking at how do we empower more women to be able to succeed in this new economy? How do we focus on new Canadians or visible minorities who get left behind to be able to succeed? How do we focus on our Indigenous population in Canada? And frankly, they're living in third world conditions. It's horrific what they're going through. How do they succeed? And so we put forward a set of policies around, for example, say the Indigenous population, let's take that as an example, around rural broadband connectivity, how we can provide high-speed internet connectivity. If we do this in an inclusive manner, if we look at this as a holistic of how innovation can benefit the many, not the few, then I believe we'll be able to counter some of those challenges around, visible minorities are facing. Even in Canada, we're not immune. We're not a perfect society. There is racism. There are challenges that exist. But we believe if we take this inclusive approach and create a set of policies and programs that benefits the many and not the few, then we'll be able to counter some of those populist, protectionist, right-wing politics that do emerge. And so we're very sensitive to it in Canada, and we're working really hard, and we want to then lead by example and share this with other countries, because in Canada, we have over 200 languages that are spoken, 200 ethnicities. Obviously in India, many more languages, many more ethnicities, so you get multiculturalism here as well. But that's what we want to promote, and we've had a very successful track record of immigrants coming to Canada and succeeding. And look at myself. My father came into Canada in 1972 as a cabinet maker, was a carpenter, and now his son is in cabinet. So that says a lot about what Canada represents, and I think that's the kind of message and hope and optimism we want to convey when it comes to our policies, and that's what I'm trying to do with our respect for innovation agenda, and I believe that's how we'll counter a lot of the right-wing politics that you alluded to.
Thank you for that, and we look forward to see you again, not a year later, as you did last time, but more frequently, and hopefully between that we should have a few more concentrated roundtables, discussions, interactions between India and Canada, the clusters, the funders, the innovation, the startups, so that there's constantly interaction between the two countries, and we will enlist your support. The Chamber will take an initiative to do that with your guidance.
Thank you very much.
And of course, the only thing that you said that last year when you came at that time was the panelists who made the announcement of the demonetization. We just keep our fingers crossed today that it doesn't have any other announcements like that today. We can't afford any more of that. So thank you very much for spending your time with us, and everybody here, I think they have been enriched by whatever your vision that you have shared, and the knowledge that what is happening in Canada. So to our Indian delegates, I would encourage that it is so easy to do business with Canada. Please approach us. We can help you connect with the Minister's office, with the Deputy Minister. With any questions, anything after this, this is not an end. We will try and follow up for you whatever you may have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all the very best for the rest of the year. Oh, thank you.